Hello and welcome to another Amiga review. I'm the eager Amiga Eagle. Can you smell burning? In this video, I'm going to be delving into the ugly art of war with a cute little game by the name of Cannon Fodder. Developed by UK-based Sensible Software, Cannon Fodder follows other games in the Sensible stable, notably Megalomania and Sensible Soccer, whilst also drawing inspiration from Lemmings and other various sim games. Pseudo-puzzle titles centering around microscopically small main characters that could be brutally murdered were quite in vogue around this time. Cannon Fodder is a strategic top-down shooter with a twist. The whole thing is controlled by the mouse. This means that you don't have split-second command over your troops, giving them somewhat of an organic feel that they need to acquiesce to your orders rather than you having godlike authority over them. Therefore, the game itself does seem to live up to its title, as it feels that your troops are indeed, literally, cannon fodder. Cannon fodder is an interesting concept, in that it's a war sim with a strong anti-war message, despite the fact that the intro keeps telling us that war has never been so much fun. There is a bizarre mix of cute, simple graphics and dark humour, where you soon come to realise that there are consequences in war. More on this later. When you start the game, you are brought to a picturesque location with a path, where the recruits will start to queue up. The first few are let in and they are taken to their first mission. There is a darker side to this screen, however, because as your troops die, their graves appear on the hill right next to the queuing recruits. Not exactly motivational. Each recruit, while looking relatively similar to all other recruits, have a unique name and identity, which is reflected on their gravestone once they die. This gives a strange feeling of loss, especially when the troops have been with you for multiple missions and have received many promotions. The tombstone on the hill is a permanent reminder of that trooper, as the next fresh face walks through the gate to join the team. It's quite poignant. Once you start your mission proper, you are dropped into the war zone via helicopter. Foregoing the usual turn-based system that is normally associated with using a mouse, everything is done in real time. The first few missions are fairly easy, summed up by the incredibly descriptive and verbose mission brief. Your troops can do two things at this point: move and shoot. As you progress, you can also gain grenades, rockets, and the occasional vehicle to pilot. However, don't think for 1 minute that these additions make the game any easier. Your forces are incredibly fragile. One stray shot will kill troopers, as will proximity to an explosion, flying building debris, quicksand, traps, vehicles, virtually everything. Therefore, as the game goes on, strategy becomes a paramount method of playing the game. Hiding, staying out of range and finding the best route through water, as you can't shoot when swimming and your speed is halved, making you, for all intents and purposes, a sitting duck. Using the cursor to look around and the map in the bottom left corner are vital to survival. Thankfully, the enemy soldiers are equally shootable and will barrel across the screen when shot. If you are feeling particularly vengeful, you can continue to shoot them and listen as they howl and bounce around. You also have to destroy a lot of buildings, which the enemy will endlessly spawn from if left unchecked. However, as there is no time limit, this can be a great way to rack up your kill stats and promotions when the missions are done. Each time you complete a mission, losses and promotions scroll purposefully slowly up the screen. This can be quite an emotional moment, as you mourn the loss of your troops and honour those who survived and received their promotion. But after just the first few times, it gets boring, and you just end up skipping it, giving your troops virtually no recognition for what they've done. Very much like real life, really. There are 24 missions, most of which are divided into stages, making a grand total of 72 levels to fight through. You can make it through the game in around 3 hours, assuming that everything goes your way and you don't lose swathes of troops to the most stupid of traps, environmental hazards or bad decisions. Locales range from the jungle, through the Arctic, desert, including an homage to the Grand Canyon, into enemy bases and computer-laden command centres towards the end. I would love to show you all of them, but this game is hard as hell and frankly I lost a lot of hair getting as far as I did. Thankfully, you can save the game to a dedicated disc, and I would recommend doing that before you smash the precious device that you are using to play the game. The graphics for the most part are cute and colourful, with all the backdrops being clean and bright, not exactly like your average Warzone. The soldiers comprise of around 50 pixels each, meaning that a lot of imagination has gone into making them look relatively human. I think even the original Mario had more pixels than these guys. Despite this, they are well animated, and anyone who has played games like Lemmings or Worms can understand that it is possible to form a bond, superficial as it may be, to the little collection of 4 dozen coloured squares. Considering that this game was developed by Sensible Software, the game ironically seems anything but. There are funny little additions everywhere, which would not look out of place in a carry-on film. From the mission and stage names, to some of the level maps, which I'm sure in some cases would not be allowed today, it's obvious that these guys just wanted to have fun while designing the game, and didn't worry, or more likely care, that some of the content might be, questionable. There are lots of nice little touches, like the fact that when stood still, your troops will turn to face where your cursor is, which is obviously very useful when you're firing at an enemy. If you want to look around the local area, the screen scrolls around as you use your mouse. There are limitations, so you cannot see enemy troops too far in advance. The way they celebrate when you win, or salute when you quit early, they are your troops through and through. But this is where things can get a little strange, because you watch your troops in action, you see them get promotions, you both guide and follow them through the various missions, you can start to form a real bond with them. I say can, because there will always be 1 or 2 sadists out there. Now this is not like Mario or Sonic, when you lose a life and then carry on playing as the same character. Once the trooper is killed, they're gone. Stats, promotions, the lot. In the event that the one killed is the platoon leader, the next troop in line steps up and takes on the mantle of leadership. They are remembered in the post-mission credits, and their gravestone stands proud on the hill. But that's it. They are done. Never to return. Depending on the mission, you may get a fresh-faced rookie or 2, or even more, depending on how many died, to start their own little journey. Now, I am a hardened, cynical, life-weary type, but even I will feel a strange sense of loss when one of my cherished little cadets bite the big one. I will try my hardest to look after them, not just because I'm trying to progress through the game, but also because they have worked hard for me, and I want to see how high they can climb through the ranks. Then you progress to the later levels, and you're going to start going through troops like they're going out of fashion, which, given the age of the Amiga and the fact that Codemasters closed Sensible Software in 1999, is quite apt actually. And the morning soon gives way to expletives and haphazardly throwing soldiers into undeniably fatal situations in the hope that you might just make it to the next level. But, as you watch the total number of potentials start to dwindle, you again wonder just how heartless you have become.
War is hell.
When you have a reasonably sized battalion on a mission, you can go a little gung-ho, running in with quite literally all guns blazing. But when the majority of your squad are unexpectedly wiped out, you will switch, unconsciously yet very quickly, to a more defensive approach, trying your best to save Private Ryan. I wonder if there is a trooper in the game somewhere with that name. It is possible to divide your squad into separate teams, either allowing you to strategically place some troops while engaging with others. It is also possible to use this functionality to try with few soldiers, but if you fail, you can try again with the remainder, without having to start the mission all over again. The troops that are not your main focus will dig in and defend themselves, but there will be times when you are forging ahead only to realise that your stationed team have been wiped out in your absence. The game has a strangely organic feel to it, because of the way you control your troops, the simple yet complex levels, the visceral yet psychotic way you can dispatch enemies, the learning curve of controlling different vehicles. Cannon Fodder can be quite addictive, especially when you start getting into the later levels and you want to push on past and get to a point where you can at least save the game. But finally, after all that blood, sweat and tears, you complete the game and are greeted with the final screen of the game. The iconic theme plays and you're greeted with a picture of the dev team and a quote from each of them. And there we have it. Cannon Fodder. Wait a minute! Well, after all the effort that I put in, that's the thanks I get! All I can say is, same to you, with knobs on. This picture makes me think. Either they did not expect many people to see this screen, or figure out the secret message, or they're just arseholes. As I said earlier, I do think that the programmers may have had to have a certain sense of humour in order to create such an impossibly taxing game. The game itself garnered very positive reviews and a critical reception, at least in the gaming world. But of course, a game like this also received a lot of backlash in the press, and with supposedly notable dignitaries due to its theme. The fact that they used the poppy as one of the main logos, and that Cannon Fodder was showcased on Remembrance Day in London. But like many controversial games that came before and after it, Cannon Fodder shrugged this off and continued on to be a successful game, with the usual ports to other systems, which was usual at this time. You know, after causing more than a few headaches for its publisher, Virgin Interactive. Cannon Fodder is one of those games that seems cute and novel on the outside, but the more you venture into the interior, the more you realise that it is a hard as nails, relentless shooter that does not hold your hand and leaves teeth marks on your mouse. A very typical game of the time, but something now that looks dated but undeniably entertaining. A game that I think today's gamers would find hard to stick with due to its unforgiving nature. Has war ever been this much fun? I'll leave that for you to decide. I'm the eager Amiga Eagle. Please don't forget to lob a grenade at the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you next game.